Rimuru, the Hero Copycat by RimuruEdward6. Chapter 30. All for one paw. Her voice returned, sharper now, brimming with confidence and a maddening sense of control. The best thing about the mask, father, she said, her tone carrying a sinister sweetness, is that if you were to expose me, nobody would believe it. There's too much evidence against the idea. And even if they did. I stiffened, her words cutting deeper than I cared to admit. I could frame it as the story of a child who escaped her father to protect what is right. People love a good family drama when it's framed correctly. Her laughter rang out in my mind, light and mocking. Imagine it, the tragic tale of the brave little hero, rising above her villainous roots to save the day. The public would eat it up. I clenched my fists, her audacity grating against my composure. You're playing a dangerous game, Rimuru, I said aloud, my voice steady but cold. Dangerous, yes, she admitted, her voice softening slightly, but isn't that what makes it fun? The world loves me, father. They see me as a symbol of hope, of resilience. If you try to tear me down, they'll only see it as another cruel act by the villain they already despise. Her words struck a nerve, and I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to remain calm. Even the best stories unravel, Rimuru, I said, my tone measured. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully you craft your narrative. Perhaps, she replied, her confidence unshaken, but by the time it does, all have already won. You taught me well, father. I know how to control the narrative, how to twist the truth into something the world wants to believe. And right now, they want to believe in me. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing as her voice faded, leaving me in the oppressive silence of the chamber once more. She was right. Her deception was masterful, her facade nearly flawless. But perfection was fragile, and every mask had its cracks. You've built yourself a fortress of lies, my dear, I murmured, my voice low and deliberate. But even the strongest fortresses can fall. She could frame herself as the child who escaped her father, as the hero rising above her past. The world might believe her. But the truth always found a way. And when it did, I would ensure that the fall was as spectacular as the lie. Her voice returned once again, calm and steady, but now there was a sharp edge to her words, one that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Oh, father, she began, her tone almost gentle, there's one quirk I haven't mentioned yet. It's my ace in the hole, the one that makes my plans bulletproof. It's called reset. I froze, my thoughts grinding to a halt as I processed her words. With reset, she continued, her voice filled with quiet confidence, I can turn back time. Not just once, but as many times as I need. And the best part, all my abilities remain in my database. I grow, I learn, and in the end, I win, no matter how many times I have to retry. Her laughter, soft and maddening, echoed in my mind. It's why I don't fear failure, father. Every loss, every misstep, is just another chance to improve. While you cling to control, I embrace evolution. And reset ensures that no matter how many times I fall, I'll always rise stronger. I clenched my fists, her words reverberating in my mind. A quirk that could turn back time, retaining everything she had learned, everything she had gained. It was a concept so dangerous, so absolute, that it bordered on the impossible. You've made yourself untouchable, I murmured, my voice low and cold. Or so you believe. Not untouchable, she corrected, her tone light but deliberate. Just prepared. You can try to stop me, father, but every attempt you make only helps me grow. In the end, there's only one outcome. I win. Her voice faded, leaving me alone with the weight of her words. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. A quirk like reset was more than just a tool. It was an advantage that defied the natural order, a power that made conventional strategies meaningless. And yet, no ability was without limits. You may have found a way to rewrite your failures, Rimuru, I murmured, my voice steady, but even reset cannot protect you forever. Every ability has a cost, and every power has a weakness. Her confidence was infuriating, but it also revealed a crack in her armor, her reliance on reset. If I could find the cost, the strain, or the flaw within it, I could turn her greatest strength into her undoing. You've made yourself a formidable opponent, I said softly, a slow smile spreading across my face. But even the strongest strategies collapse when faced with the unexpected. The game had shifted once again, and while her ability to reset the board made her dangerous, it also gave me a new target to exploit. "Let's see how many times you can reset, my dear," I murmured, my voice laced with menace. "Before I make sure there's nothing left for you to turn back to." Her voice returned, sharp and infuriatingly calm, as if she were savoring every moment of this. "And of course, father, I'll turn back to a point before today," she said, her tone almost playful. "But I'm feeling generous. I'll give you a chance to play the game." I stiffened, my eyes narrowing. "The door is open," she continued, "and your lackeys are back to normal as well. Success, right? Or maybe not. I hope you enjoy the game I set up specifically for you." The suppression chamber door hissed, then slid open with a mechanical whine. I stepped forward cautiously, my eyes scanning the dim corridor beyond. True to her word, my operatives stood at their posts, alert and ready. But something was off. I could feel it in the air, a tension, an anticipation, as though the very space around me was alive with her presence. "You've planned this well, Rimuru," I murmured, my voice low and deliberate. "But generosity doesn't suit you. What's the catch?" Her laughter echoed faintly in my mind, fading as quickly as it came. I turned to my operatives, their faces devoid of the glazed expressions I had seen before. They bowed their heads slightly, awaiting my orders. "Prepare the stronghold," I commanded, my voice firm. "She's given us a chance, but it's a chance to see how far her game extends. Tighten security, and prepare for contingencies." As they moved to obey, I stepped into the corridor, the faint hum of the suppression devices fading as I left the chamber behind. Her game had begun, and she had given me the first move. But every game, no matter how intricate, had a purpose. "Enjoy your resets, Rimuru," I murmured, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Because while you're busy rewinding, I'll be learning too." The path she had set before me would be layered with traps and misdirection, of that I was certain. But she had given me one advantage, she had let me out. And now, it was my turn. "You've crafted a game specifically for me," I said softly, my voice filled with quiet menace. "Then let's see if you can handle what happens when I play it my way." The game was on, and I was ready to turn her carefully constructed world upside down. As I stepped further into the corridor, the oppressive silence was broken once again by her voice, light and teasing, yet carrying an edge that I couldn't ignore. "Playing with you is my favorite pastime, father," she said, her tone dripping with mock affection. "You know that. Nothing beats some great father-daughter activities, in our family's unique way, of course." I stopped, her words echoing in my mind, and allowed myself a small, cold smile. "You've always had a flair for dramatics, Rimuru," I said aloud, my voice calm and measured. "But you forget, this isn't a game you can win with words alone." "Words," she repeated, laughter tinging her voice. "Oh, father, this is so much more than words. But you have to admit, our family ways make for some interesting bonding moments." The air around me seemed to hum with anticipation, as if the very walls were listening to our exchange. She was enjoying this far too much, her amusement palpable even through the distance. "You speak as though you're in control," I said softly, my voice cutting through the stillness. "But control is fleeting, my dear. Especially when you underestimate your opponent." "Oh, I'm not underestimating you," she replied, her tone taking on a sharper edge. "I'm just making sure you have every opportunity to try and keep up. It wouldn't be much fun if I didn't give you a chance, right?" Her presence faded once more, leaving me in the charged silence of the corridor. I clenched my fists, her taunts pushing against my carefully maintained composure. She had set the stage for this game, yes, but every move she made only revealed more of her strategies, her intentions, and her limits. "You may find this entertaining now, Rimuru," I murmured, a slow smile spreading across my face. "But games like these always have consequences." Her twisted idea of family bonding was as infuriating as it was intriguing. She had turned our dynamic into a battlefield, one where every word, every action, carried layers of meaning. "Let's see how far you're willing to go, my dear," I said, stepping forward into the shadows of her carefully crafted game. "Because when this is over, there will be no doubt who holds the upper hand." The game continued, and I was ready to turn her amusement into regret. Chapter 31. All Might Pa. The peaceful stillness of the safe house was broken by a faint sound, a murmur, soft and strained, coming from Rimuru. I turned my attention to her, watching as her expression twisted, her once calm face now contorted with distress. Beads of sweat formed on her brow, her breathing shallow and erratic. "She's dreaming," Hawks said, his tone cautious as he stepped closer to the bed. But this wasn't just any dream. Rimuru's lips moved, faint words escaping in fragmented whispers. I'm afraid, what they'll think, they'll leave me, hunt me." Hawks frowned, his usual confident demeanor replaced by concern. "That doesn't sound good." I stepped closer, kneeling beside her as her voice grew more strained. "I can't tell them," she mumbled, her voice trembling with emotion. "Even if I have to fight alone, for the rest of my life." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. The vulnerability, the fear, this wasn't the Rimuru we knew, the one who faced impossible odds with unshakable confidence. This was the real Rimuru. "She's terrified," I said quietly, my heart aching at the weight of her words. "She thinks she's going to lose everything if she tells us the truth." Hawks crossed his arms, his expression troubled. What could she be hiding that's got her this scared? I shook my head, my gaze fixed on her restless form. "I don't know," I admitted. "But whatever it is, she's convinced it'll make us turn against her." Rimuru's breathing quickened, her fists clenching the blanket as if she were fighting some unseen force. "Rimuru," I said softly, reaching out to place a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone. We're here for you." Her movements stilled slightly at my touch, her breathing beginning to even out. Hawks let out a slow breath, rubbing the back of his neck. "She's carrying way too much for someone her age. Whatever this is, it's eating her alive." I nodded, determination settling over me. "We need to show her that we're not going anywhere. That whatever she's hiding, whatever she's afraid of, we'll face it together." Hawks gave me a faint smirk, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Easier said than done. Rimuru's good at building walls, and she's not the type to let people in easily." I looked down at her, her face now calm again, the nightmare seemingly subsiding. "Then we'll keep trying," I said firmly. "No matter how many walls she puts up, we'll break through. She doesn't have to fight alone." Hawks sighed, his smirk fading into a soft smile. "You're too good at this hero thing, you know that." I allowed myself a faint chuckle. "It's not about being a hero, Hawks. It's about being there for someone who needs it." As Rimuru's breathing returned to a steady rhythm, I made a silent promise. Whatever she was hiding, whatever she was afraid of, we would face it together. And she would never have to fight alone. Hawks paused. The room was quiet again, the tension from Rimuru's nightmare still lingering like a shadow. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her as she rested, her expression calm but strained, as if even in sleep, she couldn't fully escape the weight she carried. Then, out of nowhere, her voice cut through the silence, soft but filled with a chilling determination. "Father," she mumbled, barely audible but clear enough to send a shiver down my spine. "I will stop you from hurting anyone else. I will end your reign once and for all." I stiffened, the words sinking in like a blade. "Father." "All Might," I said quietly, my tone sharper than I intended. "Did you hear that?" He turned to me, his eyes narrowing as he processed her words. "Yes," he said, his voice low. "She's fighting someone close." I pushed off the wall and took a step closer to the bed, my gaze fixed on her. "Father," I muttered, the word tasting strange as I said it aloud. "You don't think?" All Might's expression darkened, the weight of the situation settling over him. "It could mean many things, Hawks," he said cautiously. "But whoever this father is, he's clearly the source of her fear." My feathers bristled, my instincts kicking into high gear. If Rimuru was up against someone powerful enough to leave her this shaken, someone she was willing to call father, then this wasn't just personal, it was dangerous. "She's planning to take him down," I said, my voice steady despite the unease gnawing at me. "Whoever he is, she's ready to end it. But if this guy's as bad as he sounds, she can't do it alone." All Might nodded, his gaze softening as he looked at her. "She's carrying a burden no one should face alone," he said quietly. "And we need to be there for her, no matter what." I clenched my fists, determination surging through me. If this father is as dangerous as I think he is, then he's got another thing coming. Rimuru's not facing him alone, not while I'm here. All Might placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder, his expression firm. We'll face this together, Hawks. Whoever he is, whatever he's done, we'll make sure Rimuru knows she doesn't have to carry this fight on her own. I nodded, glancing back at her sleeping form. Father, I muttered again, the word burning in my chest. Whoever you are, you're done hurting her. Done hurting anyone. I let out a slow breath, my resolve hardening. We'll stop you, I thought, my feathers twitching with anticipation. And this time, you won't get back up. Rimuru stirred in her sleep again, her soft murmurs breaking the quiet. At first, I couldn't make out her words, but as I stepped closer, her voice grew clearer, filled with a bitterness I hadn't heard from her before. My quirk, it's really a mirror of yours, she whispered, her tone strained, as though the thought pained her. Why couldn't I have had a simple quirk? I'd never have to become a hero version of you. I exchanged a glance with All Might, his brows furrowed in concern. Her words carried a weight we couldn't ignore. A mirror of his, I muttered, the pieces of her struggle starting to fall into place. All Might's expression darkened as he crossed his arms. She's speaking of this, father, he said quietly. Her quirk isn't just powerful, it's too similar to his. And it's clear she's fighting not just him, but the fear of becoming like him. I nodded slowly, my feathers twitching as I processed her words. So that's it, I said, my voice low. She's not just afraid of what people will think of her if they find out. She's afraid they'll see her as him. Rimuru shifted again, her face tightening as if the thought was eating away at her. I don't want to be him, she mumbled, her voice cracking. I don't want to hurt people. I just want to stop him. I clenched my fists, my heart sinking at the raw vulnerability in her voice. For all her strength, all her confidence, she was carrying a fear so deep it threatened to consume her. She's not him, I said firmly, more to myself than anyone else. She'll never be him. All Might nodded, his voice steady but soft. But she doesn't believe that, Hawks. Not yet. And until she does, she'll keep fighting this battle alone. I stepped closer to the bed, my gaze fixed on Rimuru's sleeping form. She doesn't have to, I said, my voice filled with quiet determination. We're here, whether she wants us to be or not. All Might smiled faintly, placing a hand on my shoulder. We'll make sure she knows that. Together. I glanced back at Rimuru, her face softening slightly as if she'd found a moment of peace in her restless sleep. You're not him, Rimuru, I murmured. You're better than him. And we'll make sure you see that, no matter how long it takes. Because no matter how much she tried to carry this burden alone, we weren't letting her.